My story began in 1979, February 5th, when I hired in with Goodyear Tire Rubber Co. in Gadsden, Alabama, as a supervisor. I worked hard at Goodyear, and I was good at my job. But it wasn't easy. I was one of only a handful of female supervisors, and I was subject to challenges the men didn't have to face. I faced flat-out discrimination by those who didn't want women in the workforce, as well as sexual harassment. I also, unbeknownst to me, faced pay discrimination for virtually my entire career at Goodyear. Toward the end of my career, I began to suspect that I wasn't getting paid as much as the men doing similar jobs. Of course, it was hard to be sure, since Goodyear instructed us that we were not supposed to talk about our wages with our co-workers. All I knew before 1998 was that some of the men were bragging about how much overtime they got. It was more than me, but I didn't know the rate at which they were being paid, much less that it was the result of discrimination. The first line managers in Goodyear gets time and half, double time, and triple time, depending on the circumstances. And they did that because if that was not the case, oftentimes our union people would be making more than we would when we were working those 7 nights a week, 12-hour shifts. I only got real evidence when in 1998 someone left an anonymous note in my mailbox at work showing how much less I got paid than 3 other male managers. On my next day off, I filed a complaint with the EEOC to challenge the pay gap. It was only after I filed that complaint that I was finally able to get the whole picture on my pay compared to the men's. It turned out that while at the end of my career, I was earning $3,727 per month, the lowest paid male was getting $4,286 per month, and the highest paid male, $5,236 for the same exact work. This happened because time and again, I got smaller raises than the men. And over the years, those little differences added up and multiplied. So I was actually earning 20% less than the lowest paid male supervisor in the same position. There were lots of men with less seniority than me who were paid much more than I was. At trial, the jury found that Goodyear had discriminated against me in violation of Title VII. The jury awarded me back pay as well as more than $3 million in compensatory and punitive damages. And I can tell you that was one of the best moments of my life. We had been through 4 days of rigorous testifying and testimonies, and I had sat through a court where I heard my bosses get on the stand and say she really wasn't any good at her job. But the fact of the matter is, we proved in court that 1991 I was selected to help start up the light truck radio division of the tire plant in Gadsden, Alabama. And that was quite an honor because they handpicked 4 people from about 80 in that whole factory to start up the light truck radio division in Gadsden. Then in 1996, they gave me 2 top performance awards. One was because I was the most outstanding that past year in production and following the schedule that was put out, and lowest scrap and lowest absenteeism and the best safety program. My boss, former boss that gave me that award, he got on the stand in federal court and said that he only did that because he recognized my pay was out of line, and that was the only way he had to get my pay up. But it's kind of hard to prove, a company to prove that an employee is so bad at her job when I kept it for 19 years and 10 months. And they never said, Lilly, you're doing a poor job, or Lilly, you need to do this different. It was always how great it is and how good, and let's do this, and put a little bit more on me. I did spend 3 months working 12-hour shifts, 3 months at night, 7 nights a week.
Wow.
Of course, when I got off of that 3-month role, I went into the hospital because I was exhausted. They don't do that anymore. They'll only let you work 17 nights without being off a night. But when that jury came back with that verdict, it was such a wonderful moment in my life. And my lawyers had said, you keep your composure. You don't look at the jury. You don't smile at the judge. You don't cry. You don't beat on the table if it's bad or whatever, or if it's good. You keep a straight face. We had 4 lawsuits. One of them was age. I lost the age discrimination. That I didn't understand because from the time I filed the charge, I was forced out of my job at Goodyear. So I was age 60 and I wanted to work until 62 anyway. Nothing wrong with my health. I was in good physical shape and I wanted to work. But they saw fit to get rid of me after I filed the charge. We lost that one, so the jury came back and the verdict was no, no, no. And then the 4th one was the equal pay, and it was yes. And when I heard that foreman read out the dollar amount, I had to sit on my hands to be still. The only thing I could do to keep my composure was bow my head and thank the Lord. But it showed that the jury had taken my civil rights seriously and wasn't going to stand for a national employer like Goodyear paying me less than others just because I was a woman. And it seemed like a large enough award that a big company like Goodyear might feel the sting and think better of it before discriminating like that again. I was very disappointed, however, when the trial judge was forced to reduce the award to a $300,000 statutory cap. It felt like the law was sending a message that what Goodyear did was only 10% as serious as the jury, and I thought it was. And I'm not a lawyer, but I am told that most of the time, the law doesn't put an arbitrary cap like that on the amount a defendant has to pay in damages. I don't see why a company like Goodyear should get better treatment just because it broke the law, protecting workers against discrimination instead of some other kind of law. But the worst was yet to come. By one single vote, the Supreme Court took it all away, even the back pay. They said I should have complained after the first time I got paid less than the men, even though I didn't know what the men were getting paid and had no way to prove the decision was discriminatory. But the court said that once 180 days passes after the pay decision is made, the worker is stuck with unequal pay for the rest of her career. Justice Ginsburg hit the nail on the head when she said that the majority's rule just doesn't make sense in the real world.